What's up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. It's the podcast about trees and other related topics. I said what's up, Casey Clapp.
What?
And I'm
Hi.
Alex Crowson.
I'm Alex Crowson.
But maybe more appropriately this episode, I should say, aloha.
Oh, aloha.
That's right.
Alex Crowson.
Aloha, Casey Clapp.
Thank you very much.
The whitest pronunciations of that word.
Well, we have to do it. Hey, you know what? No, it's just my pronunciation.
Well, you are white.
That is true, but that doesn't, necessarily
You are a
make
monolith.
it an ist. Yeah, I am a monolith. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll take it.
Hi, Case.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Doing all right. All right.
It's good to hear.
Had a nice busy morning, and I got basically after we're done here, I will have the rest of the day to do personal things.
Oh, wow.
And the personal thing I'm deciding to do is clean and organize my entire apartment.
Man, that sounds great. It'll take you, an hour or two.
A few, yeah.
It's not a big place,
It's not a big place.
You get it done today.
But you know what? For the amount of space I have, I got a lot of stuff.
You have a pretty decent amount, but honestly, it's not cluttered, I don't think.
No, I just need to return it to the baseline.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, hey, which you know well.
I know a baseline or
That's
two.
great. I wish I could say the same for myself. I had a busy day. I finished all the research for our tree today.
Yes, yeah.
Came up with a fantastic story, which I'm very excited to talk about. Not really a story. Anyway, I'm excited about our episode today.
That's great.
But the big news is I just got back, as of yesterday, the second round of edits for my upcoming tree ID guide.
That's right.
It's called The Trees Around You.
The trees around you.
How to identify common neighborhood trees in the Pacific Northwest.
Sorry, Casey.
That's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
The trees
It's fine.
around you.
Yes.
You know those Chuck Norris jokes that are like, or Mother Russia jokes?
Yeah, the brilliant ones. Yeah.
In Mother Russia, you don't go bowling. Bowling goes you.
Yeah.
Or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
It should be Casey Clapp doesn't hug trees. Trees hug Casey Clapp.
I love that. Let's start that. That would be such a great.
All right.
Let's just do that. Make me a Chuck Norris joke.
Yeah.
That can do nothing but lead me towards stardom.
I think it'll create sort of a Johnny Appleseed figure.
All right, yeah.
Like
I'll become a folk hero.
Yes, a folk hero.
Nice.
Yes.
I also am speaking at a conference in Idaho.
Busy boy.
And I need to finish up these presentations. I'm very stoked about this. So if you're in Idaho, you want to come see me talk. I'm going to talk about tree biology and how to identify some trees.
Fantastic.
I'm very excited about it, and I'm coming up with a really fun talk on tree biology. As you know, sometimes I can do that very well. Sometimes I can't. Yet to be seen which one this is going to be. I'm having way more fun with it.
That's great.
It's going to be great. We're going to find out.
I think that's our brand. Is
I think
taking
so.
boring ass material.
And turning it into good stuff.
Well, Casey, speaking of good stuff, we've got a good tree to talk about today.
Let's get to it, man.
That tree grows in, we have a little bit of backstory here. Grows in Hawaii. And it is called
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
What was that?
Who was that?
A ghostly voice from the other side.
My God. Hold on. Let's listen. I think I recognize that voice.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Wait a second.
That's my friend Isabeau.
That is Hawaiian singer-songwriter extraordinaire.
Yep.
Isabeau Walker?
Yes, Vai'u.
It's a V.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, that's
like-
how she said, like Hawaii.
Oh, I gotcha. Shoot.
But I'm sure that if she were here, she would say, no, that's fine.
She is absolutely so sweet.
She's the most wonderful person.
Okay, real quick. How do you know her again?
I play in a band with Isabeau.
Exactly.
I saw that she needed a bassist on Instagram, and I was already a fan of her music, and I slid into her DMs, and I was like, hey, I play bass. And then she just invited me to play on her new record, and I was like, whoa, okay, shit. And it's been going great, Casey.
Yeah. Well, I was very excited. I've seen you guys play a bunch of times, and we'll let you guys know. In fact, the Crystal Ballroom here in Portland.
Yes.
Isn't that right? In the 18th?
January 18th, I'm playing the Crystal Ballroom with
yeah,
that
so you
band.
guys come out and see Alex play bass.
Yeah.
He's really good at bass lines.
Hey, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So Isabeau is from Hawaii, and I texted her and I said, just so we don't make this mistake a million times this episode, can you please send me a voice recording of how to say
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
And she said, yes, of course. And she sent this nice message, and I just caught you a little snippet there, Casey. And in front of you, you've got my sampler.
I do.
You can hit that button anytime you want.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Yep. Right. Yes.
That's going to be my Alex. It's time for you to stop talking. Just kidding. I don't think that's ever happened.
This is like Arrested Development when Michael gives everybody at the company whistles as sort of a metaphor. Like everybody needs to be a whistleblower, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And they won't stop blowing the whistles, and you can't get a word out.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Except I'm good about it, right?
It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It is. And so so I'm going to try this. ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
You need that guttural
It's a
stop.
guttural
We've
stop.
talked about it.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua. Feels like I'm a slide whistle right there, like maybe Goofy if someone like grabs him by the neck. ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Well, we've got Isabeau to back us up if we ever need it.
Exactly.
And we are going to talk about this tree, but we've got to do so after a break. We'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today, we're talking about the
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Thanks, Isabeau.
Casey, let's imagine that we are taking a little Hawaiian vacation, as one does.
As one does.
And we come across some beautiful flowers.
Off the ʻŌhiʻa Lehua
ʻŌhiʻa.
tree.
ʻŌhiʻa.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult.
Well, that's why you have the button, Case.
I know,
Casey
but
doesn't
I
want to
gotta
rely on the
practice
button.
too. I don't like technology. You know this.
You might need to rely on the button for a few rounds.
All right, that's
and then
fair.
you can fly with your own wings, little guy. Okay.
Thank you. You are so metaphorically enriching this podcast, as you always do.
Oh, thanks. Let's imagine that we come across these trees. Let's ID this tree.
All right. Well, so I may actually have a better chance to just use the Latin name, which is Metrosideros polymorpha.
There's the workaround.
That is my workaround.
Which you say with no problem.
Metrosideros polymorpha.
Metrosideros?
Yes. Yeah. Like Amy Sedaros,
Yeah.
but a little bit more metrosexual.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
that's actually the Greek, what this comes from. So this is a fascinating tree. So Metrosideros literally means iron-like heart or Ironheart.
Wow.
Iron center,
That's
something like that.
Fucking awesome.
It really is. And it's a reference to the wood, which is really hard. It's very hard heartwood on this very slow growing tree. It's not like strong though, which I thought was very interesting. So let's take, for example, the Sitka spruce.
Okay.
For the weight of the wood, it's extremely strong, which is why, of course, they build it into airplanes historically. Spruce goose is the quintessential example.
Sure.
However, this wood is really, really hard, but it's not like exceptionally strong. So like you wouldn't want to build an airplane out of it. It would be a very good wood to just slam into something, but it's not strong and like holding stuff up and bending strength and like that.
I was going to ask the difference between hard and strong.
Yeah, honestly, think of almost like maybe cement, you know? Like cement is really hard, but if you bash it, it'll just kind of break apart.
Okay.
So it's kind of like this. So
Like
it's not just
iron.
going to... yeah, I guess so. Iron is a little bit more brittle. It's not super bendy, which is why we created the alloy steel that is a little bit more bendy.
Yes.
Has a little bit more give to it.
Well, that's what I mean. Iron's very hard.
Yes.
But you can you can break it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're spot on with that. So
Okay.
that's where the name comes from.
Okay.
And or at least the genus. And there's, multiple different, I think there's about 50 different species in that genus. And about 5 of them, including our tree,
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
thanks, Isabeau, are native, those 5, to the Hawaiian Islands. They
Awesome.
are endemic there.
How about that?
Only grow there. But other ones grow down in other places in the Pacific, including Taurora, otherwise known as New Zealand.
How about that?
I'm not going to press a button to say if I said that correctly. Everyone must just forgive me.
I'm sure we'll hear from Hazel Daniels.
I'm sure we will, and I would love to. So it is, in fact, our species here, the most common tree on the Hawaiian Islands. It grows on the 6 largest islands.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I will say this. It's like, the most common tree here in Oregon is the Douglas fir, right?
Yes.
And it's a nice looking tree. But it is very, I don't know, it's not super uncommon looking.
Yeah.
It's kind of common and it's common looking.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
This is not common looking.
It's extraordinary.
Maybe on Hawaii it is.
I think that might actually be the case. When I was conceiving of how I was going to describe this tree and talk about it, the first thing, Alex, that came to my mind was I think this might be like the Hawaiian version of the Douglas fir.
Wow, cool.
Because it grows everywhere. But before we do that, let me tell you what you're going to find. Okay. You're going to find it if you go to Hawaii. Essentially, hey, welcome to Hawaii. There it is. That's as common as it is.
It's growing in the airport parking lot.
I would be 100% surprised if it was not growing in the airport parking lot. So it is a large tree, and let's quote Casey Clapp here real fast. Well, it grows however it damn pleases.
Oh, right.
That is the best way I found to describe the form of this tree.
Does that mean, sometimes it grows as a big tree-looking thing. Sometimes it grows as a shrub-looking thing.
Exactly.
A multi-stemmed sort of rhododendron-looking thing.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So normally, Laura, let's just say in the cushiest environment, you put it in nice, moist forest with well-drained soil. It can grow up to be 100 feet tall.
Wow.
And it has more or less an upright canopy especially when it's grown in a forested situation. It tends to kind of be relatively tall and relatively skinny. But if you find it growing in a less than super cushy stellar environment, it will react to those conditions and it will grow a shorter tree.
Okay.
Example would be growing in like an urban area or a garden or something like that, like not quite a forest.
It just knows.
Yeah, maybe it's about 50 feet tall. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it doesn't grow super tall if it is in less favorable conditions, all the way to the point where it will grow and mature only a few centimeters tall. So like less than 6 or so inches, maybe less than a foot or two. If it's growing in a bog area or if it's growing at super high elevations, which I should mention, it can grow from 8,000 feet in elevation or 8,200 feet, which is about 2,500 meters, which is the tree line of the highest mountains in Hawaii, where it can take frost.
Wow.
That's how high and cold it gets there.
Okay.
Then it grows all the way down to sea level.
Wow.
It is an astounding tree.
That's amazing.
And each place, it has a different form based on how adaptable it is to those environments.
Maybe for the purposes of this episode, we can talk about its most tree-like form.
Yes, that's what we're going to be focused
Cool.
on here. And it is... it's a very slow growing tree, as I mentioned. It grows less than 1/10 of an inch a year in diameter on average.
1/10 of an inch.
1/10 of an inch.
Got a new name for this tree.
Yeah.
ʻŌhiʻa.
Oh, boom. Take that.
I should have loaded
ʻŌhiʻa lehua.
I should have loaded a rim shot on that thing.
Yeah, hold on. Let's try this.
ʻŌhiʻa lehua.
Did we get it? Did I get it?
Perfect.
Thank you, Alex.
You
I
nailed
really
it.
appreciate it. So it grows like, if it gets 50 inches DBH or DSH, diameter at standard height, which is
right.
DBH is kind of the old school term, which means breast height.
Sure.
But it's easier just to say standard height, which is the same thing. It's 4.5 feet above ground. 500 years old if it's 50 inches in diameter.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
That's an old tree.
And they have found some that have been over 7 feet in diameter.
Damn.
Yeah, so it is a really slow-growing tree, which of course helps explain why the wood is so hard, because it's putting on really small layers every year over time, so it becomes very dense.
Okay, interesting.
Now, if you are walking around and you find this in the forest, you could find one that's just growing normally and has it's in the ground, or you will find it growing with strange stilted roots. So it kind of has like what we would call out here in the West, if you go to the coast, we call them octopus trees. Have you heard this? Do you know about these?
I haven't, no.
Well, it's essentially a tree that looks like it is walking, like it has many different roots and then a single stem that they all kind of go to in the middle.
Oh.
And it's because they grow on some other substrate, i.e., a log or a stump or something like that decays away.
Okay.
So the roots grow down through, get into the ground, they get hard, they lignify, they become, big tough roots, And then the thing underneath them just completely disintegrates. Compost decays away.
Interesting.
And then you're left with a tree that is very strangely looking like it has legs or stilts that it's growing on.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's nothing underneath it. You can crawl right underneath it.
Interesting.
Yeah. So these trees do that all the time.
Cool.
In fact, they grow as epiphytes as kind of a standard. That's how they start. So it's a very interesting thing in that these trees, again, they grow in multiple strange different forms. So you can't really expect, it's going to grow just like that every time.
Sure.
Because it'll start as an epiphyte and then send down aerial roots. And you can see that if you look up at the canopy of these big mature trees, there's like a little twine that's coming down that then breaks into what looks like hair on like one of those old Raggedy dolls. What is a Raggedy Ann, I think?
Sure.
You know how she had like kind of stringy reddish hair?
Kind of braided a little bit?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
That is kind of what it looks like, but the braids are very tiny, and it looks almost like a bird's nest, like just kind of coming down and poofing out.
This is the stem?
These are the roots.
The roots.
These are aerial roots
Coming
that come
off the
from the
stem.
tree.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
So as an epiphyte, it'll start growing on top of a tree fern or a stump or a log, and it will send down roots around the outside of it.
I see.
Create these stilts. But it will
Wow.
also create those same aerial roots up in the canopy for, seemingly whatever reasons. It just decides to do it. Very similar to figs. Figs do this a lot.
Those bushels of roots. I need people to Google this.
It's
it is
very
nothing
weird.
like I thought it would look like.
Yeah, I had a hard time describing it, and the only thing I could come up with is the Raggedy Ann doll hair, but thinner.
Yeah, they look like heads hanging, like hairy heads hanging off of the tree.
They look really weird. They
Very
look like
strange.
a bird's nest that I've seen before, but like way bigger, where the birds essentially create these like hanging nests that
Yeah.
are like essentially isolated from the rest of the tree.
Totally.
So everything kind of stays out. It's
Very
fascinating.
interesting.
They're
Yeah.
really interesting. So they also have bark that grows however it damn pleases. Sometimes it's smooth and gray. Sometimes it's tan and breaks up into plates and looks even as like platy and exfoliating as, say, the shagbark hickory.
Okay.
Like big plates that are popping off.
Interesting.
It has the most variable, literally everything I've ever seen in a single tree.
It's very interpretive.
Now that, Alex,
What
is
do I
what
feel
I
like
like to hear.
doing today? Growing some shaggy bark.
You know what I need? I need an aerial root right over here. Just gonna, there it is. Hey, we made the same sound.
Jinx.
ʻŌhiʻa lehua.
All right.
Can a single tree change aspects as it grows?
I believe it does.
Okay.
It just will develop different things over time.
Okay.
But I don't think that it's necessarily a this tree has this and this tree has that, and they will never cross. I think it can kind of develop different things as it ages,
Fascinating.
and that kind of thing.
Well, can we talk about the leaves, Casey?
We sure can, Alex.
Very interesting.
I'm glad you brought these up. The leaves are oppositely arranged. One of my favorites because they're just a little bit more rare.
Hooray.
So oppositely arranged, they are singular, simple leaves, and they are, this is actually going to blow your mind, very variable. Sometimes they are, they kind of start, actually, let me pull this back.
They may be very variable, but are they very able?
Yes, they are. Good one.
Oh.
That was fun.
Oh, what fun. We're like young Roman boys.
Experimenting with language. It's beautiful.
Tell me more, Casey.
So the leaves, when they very first come out, they look almost like they're kind of like a greenish, reddish, grayish color because often they have a lot of hairs on them. So they're like very tomentose when they first pop out. And when they first pop out like that, they look to me like a stone crop or a sedum, some kind of succulent that you would see in a small little pot that first like very, very early growth is like reddish orange, and then it fades to this kind of light bluish green when the leaves are mature.
They don't look unlike the plant sitting next to you here.
Yes, exactly. This is one alternative for how they choose to make their leaves, because you can only assume they make these choices because they are, just wild and crazy plants. I don't know. Some of them start that way, and they are thick. They're dark green with a lot of hair. Others are very thin. They're light green, completely smooth.
Wow.
Why? Who? Huh? I don't know.
Okay. Mystery.
They just decide this is how we are going to do it today.
This is built into their DNA.
I'm so glad you said that, Alex.
Is that a perfect transition?
Put a pin in that. It's not a transition
Oh,
yet.
okay.
Unfortunately, we have to talk about a couple other things.
Little teaser.
Actually, I'm going to say fortunately. We get to talk about another couple things.
I hope one of them is the flower.
It is.
Because this is the crown, maybe the crown jewel of this odd tree.
I agree. Now, where the leaves are growing, they're at the tips of these twigs. And then at the very terminal point of the twig is the flowers, or the
Cool.
flower head, I should say, the inflorescence.
Yes.
Yeah. You looking at those,
An
Alex?
inflorescence is sort of like a congregation
It is, yeah.
of flower buds.
It's all the flowers and all the stems and peduncles and pedicels all put together. So it's it's essentially the flower head is the best way to describe
Okay.
it. If you have more than one flower that are all clustered together that essentially create one floral display, that would be called an inflorescence.
Wow, floral display.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
It looks really good.
Yeah, they are incredible. And they usually have, I don't know, a couple dozen individual flowers that are all grouped together on these terminal points on the twigs. And they have very short, like less than a quarter-inch long, kind of inconspicuous petals. Those petals, though, have a huge number of stamens
Yeah.
that are inside that are brightly colored.
They're so beautiful.
They just pop out like little pom-poms. They look to me, in fact, a lot like mesquites or acacias or silk trees, where they have just nothing but those stamens, and they are bright like cherry red half the
Yeah.
time. The other half the time, again, you didn't see this coming. They could be yellow, they could be salmon, they could be pink, and
kind of a coral color.
a coral color, orange, you name it. Allegedly, or I should say, legend has it, there's also a white one out there somewhere.
A white.
A white
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua. Man, I'm okay.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just halfway there.
A white one. Wow.
Yeah. So these flowers, Alex, they last for about a few days, and they are
Really?
very important for a lot of birds.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you're familiar. We've talked a little bit about birds in Hawaii.
I know a bird or two.
Yeah. You're a bird guy. Hawaii is notable for having like several dozen endemic bird species,
Wow.
many of which have actually gone extinct since colonization in the 16, 15, 1400s. So they were highly sought after. In fact, a lot of them probably went extinct even before that, when the islands were first colonized by Polynesian peoples, the native Hawaiians.
Okay.
So there used to be a lot of birds. Some of them disappeared kind of in these two big phases because they had very fancy, brightly colored feathers, and there was a lot of them. They kind
Okay.
of, like the Galapagos, they kind of specialized in different places.
Oh, cool.
And so it was...
Kind of per island.
Yeah, per island, but also niches within the island.
Okay.
And all these trees, Hawaii is just so ecologically fascinating because it's all these wild endemic plants that have been there for a very long time,
Yeah.
isolated from everything else.
Totally.
All the animals did essentially the same thing.
It's a lot harder for plants and animals to travel
Yeah.
from Hawaii to the mainland than it
Exactly.
is for them to travel from Oregon to Washington.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. So it's just this literal island also in an island in kind of a biological sense where they have specialized, but also like the dodo, they kind of lost certain like fears and things like this. It's at least that's most likely. These pom-pom flowers are very important for several species of birds because they produce a lot of nectar.
Ah,
So a lot of nectar, a lot of birds. The honey creeper is one great example.
honey creeper.
Yeah, it's the name of a fun little bird.
How about that?
Yeah, it's great.
Fun little bird.
However, that's not our big important thing here. The fruit is another big important, or is another not very big important thing. It's like a little capsule. Whatever.
Looks like a little blueberry.
It's like a little blueberry.
pale
yeah.
blueberry.
Yeah, it kind of matures from green to brown and has a bunch of seeds in it.
Can we eat it?
I don't think we can. Or if we can, I don't think it's very palatable. I think it's just kind of like, nah, we don't like it. Because it's like a capsule. So it's not really even like a nice fruity kind of thing
it
that
doesn't
we
have
want
like
to eat.
fleshy.
Nah, this
Okay.
is more just like green, woody vegetation.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. It's
Utility fruit.
exactly. Yeah, it's utility fruit. Apparently, it works very well though. So the flower though is used. I should mention very much in Hawaiian culture.
Yes.
So it's used in leis. Still is often today. But what's really the kind of thing with it is that this is a plant that has been in the cultural kind of, zeitgeist of everyone who's been in all the natives of Hawaii since they got there, essentially. So there is a legend that it is actually the tree and the flower, which I should make another quick note. I know we're on like the second of 3 different notes here.
Yeah, we're subdividing now.
Exactly. You can call this tree the
ʻŌhiʻa
you can call it,
Lehua.
or you can refer to the flower itself as ʻŌhiʻa. So either one. So
Okay.
it's kind of like there's a lot of different people who have been like, wow, no, you can't refer to it this way. And there's many different references I found that set the record straight. You can call it the second word, the first word, or both words combined.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So I say all that because the legend has it the ʻŌhiʻa that was a legendary character that the goddess Pele, which is the goddess of volcanoes, was absolutely smitten by.
Oh,
But ʻŌhiʻa,
ʻŌhiʻa.
God dang it!
You have the button.
I know, but I'm saying just one part of it, not the second part.
I'll edit it.
Oh, but
ʻŌhiʻa
was in love with.
Lehua.
Ah.
So there are these 2 different characters
Okay.
that were in love. So the goddess Pele got jealous and, turned one into a tree.
As you do.
And the other one was absolutely so saddened that the other gods took pity, or Pele also felt bad about Pele's choice to turn ʻŌhiʻa into a tree, and then added the flower onto it, turned Lehua into the flower on the tree. So
How
they're always together.
beautiful. Oh, what a nice story.
Yeah, it's really a nice little thing.
Kind of a bittersweet ending.
It is a little bittersweet ending, but it's great. It's very. It reminds me of a lot of the Greek mythologies in Metamorphosis
Yes.
by Ovid, where each one had this old, like every tree, all the plants, everyone kind of had this really interesting origin story.
Gods love to turn other gods and humans and demigods and all that into plants and animals.
They really do,
It's
and
one of their favorite pastimes.
I'm so happy for that. Like honestly, it's one of my favorite things.
We can talk about this some other time, but yeah, I wonder like where that trope comes from, like why that trope and what it means to humans, you know?
Yeah, that is very interesting.
Something to
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah, we should dive into it sometime.
Okay.
Now, so here's the thing. As we mentioned, this tree often starts its life as an epiphyte.
Yes.
I didn't really know a whole lot about this tree when we started. Alex,
Whoa.
I might have convinced myself that this is one of the most fascinating trees that I've ever covered, that I've ever even looked into.
We need a
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
thank you, Bo.
Yeah, thank you.
That's incredible.
So let me just start real fast with
Here we go.
with this thing. So it is an epiphyte. Often it starts growing on stumps, starts growing on logs, starts growing on tree ferns. That's one of its favorite places.
Tree ferns.
Yeah. I don't know if a bird eats it and then lets the seed go. I think that's mostly how things or how it gets dispersed.
It grows on a tree fern,
Correct.
which is already growing on a tree.
No. The tree fern, like the tall ferns that look like trees.
Okay.
Yes,
I thought
love
it was a
that.
fern that was like an epiphyte.
Yeah, that
this
is
like
good.
A double
an epiphyte on an epiphyte.
Yeah.
No, not in this case. Sorry.
Okay.
So you have a large growing tree fern, and then on top of that, a little seed lands. That seed germinates and then sends out these aerial roots and then ends up going into the ground and then starts to essentially take over that tree. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not quite a strangler fig. I think it's more like the tree fern just kind of gets pushed out of the way or is right next to it, so it kind of just goes off to the side.
It's squatters' rights.
Exactly. You get squatters' rights, but it also grows really slowly.
Yeah.
So I think the tree fern's kind of like, well, I got another 10 years, so whatever.
Before it knows what's happening, it's already, oh shit, you've moved in.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it does get like on average between 1 foot and 2 feet of growth in a year in terms of height, but diameter is wildly slow.
Gotcha.
So it starts like that. And then it sends out these aerial roots every now and then. If they are close to the ground, then those aerial roots will just basically become stilts and they will grab into the soil and they will shoot out again. And you
Very
have
cool.
a tree that kind of does what a mangrove does, where it just sends out these aerial roots that become stilts.
Cool.
It can also just send out these aerial roots that just take extra water, where it's like, yeah, I need some water. So you're starting to see that this tree's apparently quite adaptable in like it grows new arms and new legs whenever it pleases.
Also very scrappy.
Yes. Oh my God. That is a perfect description.
Yeah,
Alex.
very like, I'm going to get mine. I'm going to fucking survive. And if I need to crowd you out, bitch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
And it does. Like,
That's cool.
It is the most dominant tree above 1,200 feet elevation in the cloud forests. It is the most dominant tree with essentially any forest around. It's like 50% of the trees that you'll find growing almost anywhere. And when I say almost anywhere, Alex, I mean literally almost anywhere. I don't think it grows on the sandy beaches.
Okay.
But if you go inland into the forest a little bit, it will be growing there. If you go up the slopes of all of the mountains and you find a dry, super kind of mesic area that has 16 inches of rain and that's it, you'll find it growing there. Okay. If you find a bog, you will find it growing there in the bog.
This is like a nationalist political speech.
We will be on the beaches. We will be here. We will be in the bogs.
You will find this tree in the bogs. You will find this tree on the mountain slopes.
Oh, I love it. It's like almost a sermon a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, honestly, you will find it everywhere.
That's impressive.
Alex, this is the tree that grows on new lava flows.
Okay.
So like basalt lava comes from the ground.
Yep.
And everyone knows Hawaii is famous for its gigantic volcanoes. They just kind of explode all the time and just like constantly put out new lava flows.
Yeah.
This tree, as soon as that lava dries and a seed lands on it, it's like, man, cool, I'll grow here. And it does.
This is shocking. I did not know this could even happen, first of all.
Neither did I. But this tree does it.
Where does it... Okay, I guess I have like a million questions.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Let's start.
The lava comes out.
Yep.
It's very hot.
Correct.
If a seed landed on it now, it would burn to a crisp.
Yeah, it's gone. Doesn't
Now,
count.
the lava... If the lava cools at all, it turns black. And like this chippy sort of... what do you call that material?
Yeah, it's basalt. It's just
Basalt.
It's
Okay.
rock. Yeah.
Yeah, rock. Okay.
Yeah, but it's very on the top especially. It becomes very rough and sharp angled, and it's not like well, sometimes it is, but often it's not very smooth. It's very jagged, rough, rocky.
Is it shiny?
Not really. Not
Okay.
really.
I feel like maybe my neighbor growing up had a big boulder of this outside his home.
Oh yeah, because sometimes there's obsidian, which is very shiny.
Okay.
And that you can find all over the place, but not in this case. Not what we're talking about.
Okay. This is not dragon glass.
This is not dragon glass. That's correct.
So a seed lands on this cooled lava, which is now basalt.
Yep.
Now, if I know seeds, they are very strong.
Yes.
The not the cotyledon, but the first root, which is called
You got this, Alex. A radical.
radical.
Ha!
Radical.
Yeah, man. Cool.
It's a bit of a tubular root in Hawaii.
It's a bit of a tubular root.
That's what they call it there. And it grew up. They're very strong. They're like ants, like that
Yeah.
can carry like 15 million times their weight.
Yep.
It breaks down into the basalt.
Not exactly.
Okay.
Now you're correct in that it usually all these radicals, which is like you said, is the very first little embryonic root that comes out of the seed.
Yeah.
The cotyledons are the ones that grow up.
That's right.
The little root has a tiny little root cap on it, so it's kind of this toughened, hardened point, so it can burrow through the soil.
Wow.
But in this case, it's not really burrowing through; it's going around.
Oh.
And it's finding places that have nutrients because little bits of dust, little bits of soil, rocks, something that's dissolved. Because remind ourselves, we are in a tropical like wonderland.
Right.
So there's water falling all the time.
Very rich.
Very rich.
Okay.
So as soon as water starts to hit this area, it percolates down.
Okay.
And these trees will find that and follow it until they hit kind of a lower area. And they'll just keep growing until they find it, to be clear. And they will grow and suck up all of the water, and they'll find little like caves, and they will send their roots all the way down as far as they need to get a bunch of different water nutrient resources.
And this is literally like cracks in the basalt?
This is literally cracks in the basalt.
Okay.
You're looking at what appears to be a giant flow of rock with these little tiny trees just sprouting up.
Wow.
It is mind-blowing.
What about landing on rock tells this seed, you know what, this is good enough, go for it?
Honestly, I don't think that it is told anything. I think it just lands and then says, okay, go. And then it just starts to grow.
Okay.
But that's the thing about this tree. Wherever it starts to grow, it is able to survive.
That's amazing.
So it says, okay, great, radical, go down, cotyledons go up, okay, what do we find? And then it just starts surviving. The aerial roots and the roots of the tree will take in water from the air. Any water that hits it, because of course there's lots of rain out here, it's an island in the middle of the Pacific, it's tropical, it is just getting water wherever it happens to find it. And it'll just continually live and grow roots further down until it reaches whatever resources it needs, and then it'll start growing up.
Wow.
And then once it's growing up, it sends out aerial roots that then can find and grow laterally over the top and find other places. So this tree can actively grow. And I always say this, and this is kind of a thing that I'm like reconsidering. I can't reconsider it. It's a fact, but there's always an exception to every rule. Tree roots do not grow in search of something. They grow in the presence of resources.
Okay.
The best way that I always describe this is people, they plant a tree and they say, well, that tree's going to get into my pipes. And I'm like, well, the tree's not going to get into your pipes. The tree does not know that there's water inside the pipe, and it's just like going to poke and prod until it finds its way in to get the water. It's not going to break the pipe because it's trying to get the water.
Yeah.
It does not know that there is water in that pipe unless the pipe is cracked and water is coming out of the pipe. The tree will send out all of its roots. It'll be like, oh, there's more water over here, so more resources get put into the roots that are finding more resources.
Okay.
Remember, this is the same thing with branches. If it's supporting itself, then it gets more resources because the tree's like, great, you're giving some and taking some. You have to support yourself first.
Thank you.
So this root is, oh, sorry. Well, you too, Alex.
Thanks, Casey.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job. Now, Alex. I'm sorry.
This tree...
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
You got to grow your own way, damn it. Get a job. I mean, find resources.
This tree needs to follow up with their insurance company. I mean, and...
yeah, it's exactly right.
So this whole like roots, that's a great way to say it, that roots don't grow to find something, they grow in the presence of something.
Yes, exactly.
It reminds me of lightning strikes.
Oh,
lightning
how
strikes
so?
don't like, lightning strikes take the path of least resistance.
Okay, yes.
So not in real time. They go, the not so much over here. Oh, here's a nice little path, and it goes this way. So it's not like it's aiming for something.
Yes,
it just goes where it goes because of the path of least resistance.
Because of those reactions, yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Reactions with the material world.
Yes. Exactly the same, Alex.
Cool.
However,
Except
this tree apparently has the ability, which I know other plants can do this, but this one has the ability to just send out roots and say, yeah, I'm just going to grow that way, see what's over there.
Okay.
And then it survives.
That's amazing.
It is beyond amazing. It can grow in places of 16 inches of rainfall, or it can grow in places of 400 inches of rainfall.
It's ludicrous.
Literally one of the wettest places on the planet, this tree grows.
Yeah.
You go to another island, the same exact tree will be growing in a place that has less rainfall than we get here in Portland over the course of, a couple months, honestly.
Yeah. Is this the kind of tree, we've seen images of trees, maybe you've seen them in real life, but I have not, of trees growing like it lands on a boulder.
Yeah.
And then the roots just kind of go around the boulder and snake down a chasm until it finds a little patch of dirt at the bottom of this chasm. Like, is that the scale we're talking about?
It is. It's the scale that we're talking about.
Cool.
But one thing that I think is also very interesting about this tree, which leads me to my final point.
Oh my gosh.
Is that any other tree that does that tends to not necessarily be always the dominant tree.
Oh, sure,
I guess.
yeah.
Like cherries, the famous cherry that cracked their boulder in Japan.
It's like an anomaly.
Yeah, exactly. Like junipers do this where they grow in random places in the West where you're like, yeah, okay, that tree's just barely surviving there.
Yeah.
But if you put something else in that or you change the conditions, everything's going to crush it. This is a tropical wonderland. It is filled to the brim with plants that are competing against each other. And this tree can compete against them. It can grow in literally any place at all. And it still has all these other like little facets of fascinating adaptations.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like it has adapted to every single environment that Hawaii has to offer. And it dominates in all of them.
It's very impressive.
It's very impressive. And it is, in fact, led people to believe that it is on the verge of what they call incipient speciation.
Incipient speciation.
Yes.
I might know what this means.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Let's see. What do you think?
Speciation is when one species kind of splits into two.
Yes,
depending
correct.
on where it is. Like the finches are a good example, right?
Yes, yeah.
Darwin's finches. Darwin and the finches coming up next.
Hey, what's up? I'm Darwin. These are my finches. Exactly, and they're just
actual birds.
it's just bird sounds.
Hopping around on the guitar strings. So I guess this means that the
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
is maybe going to speciate into two or more species because of how adaptable it is. It's like spreading itself a little thin, and now each of those new kind of it's like that multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Like each of those new things is going to like make its own personality and become its own species.
Yes, precisely.
Cool.
Yeah, you totally hit that right on the head.
Wow.
So that is like I've just kind of explored this term, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this kind of makes sense. And usually we've talked about this with, like, say, the lodgepole pine, where it grows and has these different subspecies all across the West.
Shore pine, one of my favorite trees.
Exactly. So these trees are like in these different locations, in these different environments, but they're kind of geographically separated, where shore pine grows on the coast. Lodgepole pine, at least the northern one, grows in the Cascade Mountains. Then there's another one that grows in bogs along the northern coast of California. There's another one that grows in the Sierra Nevada. And these are all like, okay, we have a couple different subspecies. There are many different subspecies for the
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
However, they are not geographically separated.
Sure.
They're all
in the same
the
neighborhood.
same island. Exactly.
That's amazing.
So they have actually found a way, these trees, to find and adapt one species. One species is doing this. Finds different niches and adapts itself to it. It grows as a few centimeter tall plant in bogs or at the tree line at 8,000 feet. It grows as a 100-foot tall tree in moist forests down closer to the sea level.
Yeah.
It grows everywhere in between dry sites and super wet sites. So theoretically, this incipient speciation is in fact this tree finding every single niche that it can possibly find, which it has. Then it takes, let's say, a couple million years of time, and it becomes isolated genetically, where the ones that are growing up in this place, they only grow with themselves and they start to pollinate themselves over and over and over and over, and over. That population. So on and so forth with each one, where they create their own niches. And now instead of having a tree that sometimes grows as a shrub, sometimes grows really tall, you have a tree that grows really tall, then another species that is a shrub.
Sure.
And then you have a species that grows only in the dry sites. Then you have a species that only grows in the wet sites. A species that grows at high elevation, a species that grows at low elevation, so on and so forth.
That to me is that's the beauty of the tropics, you know?
Yeah, I suppose you're right, where things are just going.
Yeah, constantly changing and constantly adapting to the point where it's like 30 feet that way, we used to be related, man. You done changed.
You changed. Yeah. So this, I don't know, man. I'm kind of like stunned by it. I'm a little bit taken aback because I didn't really expect that this tree was going to have all these like crazy attributes.
Yeah.
When I first was like looking at this, I'm like, all right, let's talk about the geology and how this tree is adapted to grow on the lava. Like that's really interesting in and of itself. And then as I'm reading through it, it's like lava, tip of the iceberg, man. This thing grows everywhere in so many different desperate situations. Remember at the very beginning, Alex, I said that this reminds me of the Douglas fir. The very beginning, because Douglas fir grows along the coast. It grows as a teeny tiny tree down in New Mexico on other lava fields.
As a forest giant in the lush forests up here.
Exactly, in the Cascades. So it has all these different kind of subspecies, varieties, and different niches and habitat that it can grow in, but it does not grow next to the sea.
Sure.
It grows just a little bit further away. It does not grow at the highest elevation. It gets beat out by other species probably, I'd say, 1,000 feet or more below the tree line.
Sure.
So this tree, our Ōhi'a Lehua.
That was maybe your best one yet.
Thank you.
You
I've
still
been
missed
practicing all day.
you missed
The guttural stop.
I think she called it a kanaka. But I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you, Alex.
That was pretty good.
Thank you. That tree,
I can't do it again.
it grows. No, you know
End
what?
on a high.
Once you did it, end on a high.
Yeah.
It grows. It does do all that. It has done everything.
Yeah.
And they have done genetics on it, and they're like, yeah, there's a couple like varieties, but this is all the same species.
That's impressive.
It's wild.
Love this tree, Casey.
Blows my mind.
I can't wait to give it a score. I took a couple notes here of things to talk about.
I did see you doing that.
Yeah. I didn't want to be rude, but I got to write things down before they flee my brain.
Yes, that's very fair. I think it's a good move.
But we are going to review the
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Thank you, Bo. Right after the break, we'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back. That was our discussion
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
of the Casey. It's time to give this tree a review.
Yes. It's time.
And here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on the Ōhi'a Lehua, and then give it a rating of 0 to 10. I know we give golden cones of honor,
Yeah, that's our, it's pretty standard.
but I feel like we should maybe do something special
Interesting.
for Hawaii.
Okay.
And maybe that thing should be golden surfboards.
Yeah, maybe.
Casey loves this idea.
I think, Alex, can I...
Oh, should it be plant-based?
No, can I propose a different one?
Yeah.
I think we should give out golden Hawaiian tree snails of honor.
Yes, please.
Because this is a species of snail that grows almost exclusively on this tree.
You're fucking kidding me.
I think so, yeah.
I cannot believe you're just bringing this up.
I'm sorry. There's only enough space in an episode.
I know. Actually, I appreciate the restraint.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Golden tree snails?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I think they're on other trees, but this is like a particular tree that they really love.
Amazing.
Yes.
Let's give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden tree snails of honor. Casey, as our resident expert, we'll begin with you.
All right. Thank you, Alex. As I said, am very taken by this tree. I think the flowers are beautiful. I love that they grow in multiple different colors, and each color also might have a little bit of a kind of genetic thing with it. For example, the yellow are self-compatible, whereas the red are self-incompatible most of the time.
Interesting.
Very curious. It is a tree that grows everywhere. It grows really beautifully. The photos that I've seen, I'm like, oh man, that thing gets it. It sometimes grows in this gorgeous curly fashion. Sometimes it's this tall, straight tree. Sometimes it's this teeny, tiny little shrub that is like not even a real tree at all, but it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, baby.
Sometimes it grows as a complete closed canopy forest that you could almost go over and log because they're perfectly tall, straight trees. So I dig that. I dig the fact that the leaves can grow however they damn please, wherever they damn please. I dig that this tree is a cultural phenomenon. We didn't even really get to cover that because I'm too taken by the fact that this tree can do anything it pleases.
I know. I'm thinking maybe we should actually do a bonus episode for our Completely Arbitrary Treemium where we go over some of the cultural significances of this tree.
Interesting idea. I'm convinced.
Great. Arbitrarypod.supercast.com.
There you go. There you got it. So this tree, I am going to give a 9.8.
Wow.
Golden Tree Scales of Honor because it can do anything. So 9.8.
9.8 golden snails of honor.
Yeah.
It's incredible, Casey.
This is one of the most amazing trees I've ever read about.
Well, Casey, a very impressive score for a very impressive tree, and I have to agree with you.
No.
I wrote a couple things down here. First is that I love that this tree... So this tree lands on the islands of Hawaii, right?
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, this is great. I love growing here. Oh, what's that over there? It looks like bog water. Huh. Okay. And instead of saying, you know what, I don't grow so good over there, it's like, okay, I'm going to grow there too. Yeah. I'll find a way to grow over there.
I'll see what this is like.
And then it does, and it thrives, and it's beautiful, and it's lovely. And then one day it's like, hey, what's that? Oh, slightly sandy beachfront forest. Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
See what it's like.
And then it just, instead of saying, no, I can't, I'm sorry, it just commits, and then it makes it work.
Yep.
I love that about it. It does not take no for an answer, and I think that is very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Man, that is so ʻŌhiʻa Lehua. The other thing I have here is I love this. I think this tree is a great metaphor for teamwork, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, yeah.
So you have the gods ʻŌhiʻa and you have the god Lehua.
Yeah.
And on their own, you know, maybe they wouldn't do so good. But you combine them into one plant, and they take over the islands.
They take over. Yeah.
I love that.
Oh. Really, the monarchs, because one is female, the other's male.
How could you, man? A nice heterosexual relationship. I'm just teasing. I love this tree so much. I love that it's Hawaiian. I love my friend Bo. She's Hawaiian. What could be better? Casey, I'm giving this tree 9.75 golden cones of honor.
9.75.
About as good as it gets.
Wow, 9 3/4.
And here on the ukulele, we honor
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Well, Casey, that was our review of the one last one.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Right.
Thank you. And
We'll
thank
have
you,
to return
Bo,
to that.
for sending us
Yes,
that.
thank you. ʻŌhiʻa Lehua. ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Not bad.
Thank you.
Casey, it's time for a game.
I love games, Alex.
This one is called Tell Me Casey Clapp, 'Cause I Needle to Know. And here's how it works.
Okay.
I'm going handheld mode here because I need to walk over there.
Yeah, I see this.
But you've got a table in front of you. I'm going to set some foliages
yes
in front of you.
Oh, wow.
You are going to blindfold yourself.
with this blindfold, which
That
is
blindfold-
a beautiful
bandana
yeah.
designed by Leanne Flug.
Oh, I love Leanne Flug. Shout out to Leanne Flug.
Shout out to Leanne Flug.
You guys ever just want to go buy cool stuff, go to her store.
Leanne Flug's shop is amazing. So I'm going to set some foliages in front of you. You will be blindfolded, and one at a time, you will feel the foliage with your hand.
Okay.
And then you will tell me what species it
This
comes
is so
from.
exciting. Did you go out and collect these yourself?
I sure did, pal.
Wow.
I had to take kind of an unexpected trip to Klamath Falls this last week,
Yes, you did.
and that is a hell of a long drive. And while I was over there, I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to collect some of these needles off this here tree because I don't know if it really grows in my neck of the woods, literally, and turn it into a little game. Something good is going to come out of this horrible experience. So Casey is blindfolding himself. Okay, Casey,
Okay.
are you ready to tell me, Casey Clapp, because I needle to know?
I am ready.
Okay, the first one is going to be on your left.
Okay.
Right there. There they are.
Okay.
So why don't you describe to us what you're feeling?
Okay, so these feel like pine needles. They're long, and I can feel that they are all connected at the base in what I would call a fascicle.
How long do you reckon those needles are?
Ooh, it's a good question. Here, let's do this. I'd say probably about 6 or 8 inches, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So if I can just feel this, I feel 1, I feel 2, and 3. Ponderosa pine. I think these are ponderosa pine because they're long-ish needles in bundles of 3, and that's a pretty ponderosa pine area down there in K Falls.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Well, I don't know, but we're going to, after you take off your blindfold, you can tell us.
Oh, it's so good. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Ponderosa Pine's number 1. Number 2 is going to be a little to your right there. There it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what are you feeling there, Casey?
Ooh, okay. So I feel this is a sprig. It's not specific needles, but this is a small piece of foliage. And let's see. So they're evergreen needles. They are, I think I know exactly what this is. I'm excited. So this is a small sprig, and the needles come out left and right. So they're 2 ranked. And they also are somewhat V-shaped, where they come out a little bit to the left and up, and a little bit to the right and up. So they're just ever so slightly raised. Now, that... And at the very tip of the needle, or of the twig, there's a round ball. And that is a bud of the needles and the sprigs that are going to come out next year. Okay. It's also very, very obvious that it's evergreen. They're very tough needles. They're very kind of pokey at the end, but they're not like atrociously pokey.
I found them to be quite soft.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Like when you rub with the grain.
You go with the grain, yeah. But they're also very firm. So they're nice, but they're not going to just like move out of the way. I think this is a coast redwood, Sequoia sempervirens.
Okay, fair guess.
Okay.
Now, that last one there is a little more to your, about a foot to your right. Okay. It's a little pokey.
Uh-oh.
As long as you hold it correctly, which I'm sure you will, you'll be fine.
Ooh. Oh, my God.
Now, what are you feeling? Tell me, Casey Clapp, because I needle to know. What do you feel?
Okay. So this is another small little sprig of foliage, and it is semi-flattened, but the needles or the foliage doesn't feel so much like needles to me. They feel more like they're scale-like leaves.
Scales.
Yeah. Now, I can't tell if I'm holding it right side up or upside down.
You want me to tell you?
No.
Okay.
This is okay. I think I have it oriented correctly now, just because the top's a little bit smoother and it's a little bit more concave on the bottom.
How long would you say each of those little offshoots is?
These little offshoots...
And are they oppositely or alternatively arranged? Alternately. Excuse me.
These are super alternatively arranged.
This is an alt tree.
Honestly, it feels like they're oppositely arranged, but it's hard to tell. Maybe they're alternate. I can't tell, honestly.
Okay.
I can't tell. But it does feel like it is an evergreen scale leaf conifer, and because when you pull backwards on it, it kind of catches your fingers. So it kind of feels like they are oriented so that if you go down the twig, very smooth and easy. When you go against it, they start to catch.
Yeah.
So this one feels like something in the cypress family. Which one precisely is a really good question, because they're actually a little bit tougher than I'd expect. But
this one, I will say, Casey, has sort of a visual marker, which I think when you remove your, I keep wanting to say eyelashes, your blindfold.
I'm not going to remove my eyelashes.
Come on, do it.
Honestly, even though I don't think this tree is really common down there, this feels to me like a ʻŌhiʻa cypress.
Now, I have to say one thing.
Yes.
This one and the previous one, I did not find in Klamath Falls.
Okay.
I found these in Portland.
Nice. Well,
The first one I found in Klamath Falls.
I think this one might be ʻŌhiʻa cypress, which is Thuiopsis dolibrata, because they have big, like kind of tough, armored, almost looking scales. And on the bottom, since you said there's a visual thing, they are so brightly colored with stomatal bloom that they just pop like way more vibrantly than anything else.
Very interesting.
And they also are kind of tough with these bigger, like I said, armored like scales, and that's kind of what it feels like. They're very obviously large, not like subtly smooth.
Okay, Casey.
Okay.
So from left to right, you believe that we have a ponderosa pine,
Yes,
a coast redwood,
correct.
and a Ōhiʻa cypress.
That's what I believe.
which I've never even heard of before.
Wow, okay. All right.
Casey Clapp, please remove your blindfold. How did you do, Case?
Alex, I am excited to tell you, I believe I got all these right.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Yep, these got to be ponderosa pine.
Okay, a three-needled pine, about 6 to 8 inches long, found in Klamath Falls, probably ponderosa.
Probably ponderosa. Now, there are Jeffrey pine down there, but they tend to be just a little bit longer and a little bit more blue-green than these are.
Okay. Yeah, those are pretty green.
They are pretty green, yeah. Definitely coast redwood, baby.
Okay.
They have this little bud at the tip was a big giveaway for me because
Really?
it could have been a couple different kinds of conifers.
I actually thought, because this was a very weeping tree, I thought that it might be a western hemlock.
Ah, yes, they look exactly like it. But that is another clue with how like rigid the needles are. Western hemlock, they're just very soft.
That's true.
Yeah. So the rigidity and the fact that they kind of come up with that slight V shape to it, that was what was giving it away for me.
All right.
Nice.
You stumped me. And then that last one,
Yeah.
Ōhiʻa cypress.
Boom! That's a Ōhiʻa cypress. That bottom, Alex.
Yeah, you turned it over. That bottom is bright.
It is.
Bright green with those stomata lines.
They're just so beautiful. Like it's captivating to me.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love the shape of the way that they come off the stem too.
Yeah.
And on the top there, Casey, is actually the marker I was talking about.
Oh, I see.
It's got some white, like it almost looks like a rust of some kind.
It is a variegation, is what it looks like to me.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know that this tree has a particular variegated species or variety, I should say, cultivar, but I would be willing to bet that it does. I'm just not super familiar with it. Nice!
Well, nice job, Casey
Alex,
Clapp.
thank you. That was so much fun.
You told me because I needled to know. Casey, it's time for our completely arbitrary AMA.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Thank you, Bo.
Thank you.
Do you have a question for us?
No, I think that's all that she wanted to say.
I'll put the entire voice memo that Bo sent us on the Treemium so people can hear her full explanation.
And then go follow her on the internet and then go follow her live.
Listen to her music. It's Isabeau, Beau, Vaia'u Walker. Casey, this week our question comes from Megan.
Hi, Megan.
Hey there. Says Megan, love y'all, by the way.
Yeah, back at you, Megan.
Thanks for the work you do. I'm writing a book with trees as characters.
Whoa!
And went with super basic human names for comedy. But now I'm not so sure.
I do like that.
An oak called Derek, an alder called Bee, and a chestnut called Marge.
Nice.
Would you go A, super elaborate, like Lord of the Rings elven names?
Ooh.
B, stay basic to make them accessible. Or 3, choose names that reference their spinus and genus. Spinus.
Gross.
Choose names that reference their species and genus or
Yeah.
personality. Thank you forever, Megan.
Always. I love the comedic style. I think that is hilarious.
I think it depends on the tone of the book.
That is fair. That is true. If you're writing, a very intense novel about, emotions and murder and mystery and that kind of thing. Yeah, maybe go with something.
You
a
sound like
little bit
someone
more
who's
old
never
school.
read a book, who just has heard of these things.
Yeah, I've just heard of them. This is what I guess they're about. I don't know.
Books with introductions and table of contents.
Or whatever, man. Yeah. No, I think you're right. Yeah, that's fair. If there's intrigue, then you really want it to be like, yeah, this is. I'm going to take you out of the current world and put you into a new world.
Sure.
Yeah, call it Valadriel or something like that.
Yeah, Valadriel.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
But personally, I love the idea of like, so anyway, I was walking through the forest and Jill over there was just hanging out.
Yeah.
Jill is a 17,000-year-old ponderosa pine.
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think.
Old.
I think. Since Megan said that she's going with basic human names for comedy.
Yeah.
I guess we can maybe assume that it has a comedic tone. The book. I think it's fitting because it's like humans. some of us have names that really mean something.
Yeah.
Named after, something from nature. But a lot of us, my name is Alex, you're John.
Yeah.
Probably
Pretty
named
easy.
after an ancestor.
Grandpa, great-grandpa.
Yeah, exactly. So I think going with like basic random names is very human.
Yeah. And I do like it. I think I'm personally driven towards the hard stop single syllable names.
Yeah, okay.
Bob, Frank, Gene,
Sure.
Jill, that kind of thing.
Those are very popular in like modern science fiction and fantasy.
Really? Okay, so which is, we assume the exact kind of novel that's getting written right now. by
Potentially.
Megan.
I will say, regarding Megan's question, in like 2015 or whatever, I went back to school and I made a short series of films called The Life of Trees. And my two main characters were two trees, a Douglas fir and an Oregon white oak. And I decided this is kind of low-hanging fruit, not that creative. It's like basic creative to name them Doug and Gary for Gary Oak.
Exactly.
So maybe I kind of do like some maybe subtle or not hint to the genus or the species.
I also do. I'm with it. I think for me, like personally, I like it with a fewer amount of characters. So Doug and Gary, where it's very simple and you're like, great, that actually solves a problem. It's a callback to the species. Like it has that deeperness to it. Yeah, that's right. Deeperness.
Yeah.
ʻŌhiʻa
Meanwhile,
Lehua.
you have other tree names. In fact, our tree this week it has a much more intense name.
What is the name?
It's ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Okay.
You thought I was going to press that button, didn't you, Alex?
In case you reached for it.
And then I pulled my hand away, slapped it away as if I was about to reach for some candy.
I'm slapping the cigarette out of your mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need it anymore.
I'm done with that. So I don't know. Even like that, it's actually kind of fun because you could make names that have a deeper meaning, a double entendre kind of thing.
Sure.
So it's a normal name, but it actually is a name that makes some callback to the tree or has a meaning that if you look at the meaning, it means something that has to do with the tree's character in the book. That's always, I think that's really fun too.
Yeah, I think names in literature should always mean something, even if the name's Bob.
Yeah.
It should mean something. Why did you choose Bob?
Exactly. Yeah. There's something, or with the tree, if you could translate it into something else, like, the Greek translation of that actually means something that says something about the character or
River horse.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Dune's a great example, right? I rewatched the second episode a couple weeks ago, second movie.
Yeah.
Zendaya. Zendaya, is that her name?
What's the actor's name?
Oh, okay, yes. Well, her name translates as Desert Spring.
Oh.
And then later the thing is like, well, the prophecy says, you have to take water from a desert spring, and it's her tears.
Oh, wow.
It's like there's this full circle that comes.
Yes.
So that kind of thing with the depth to it is great. So if Frank and Gary doesn't work out, then you're going to have to translate Greek and Roman and find something that's really thorough.
Yeah. I love it, Casey.
Great job, Megan. Let's give that story, send it on our way when you get it finished.
Yes, please. We'd love to read a manuscript. If you've got a question for us and want to get lots of other rewards, become a Treemium member at arbitrarypod.supercast.com. You can also find a link for that on our website, arbitrarypod.com. Casey.
Alex Crowson.
Did you know that if you become a Treemium member, you get bonus content? Who doesn't love content?
Yes.
It's like extra audio episodes,
Yep.
extra video episodes, live streams, etc. You also appendices to some of our episodes.
Get a little bit of extra stuff there.
Yeah. So if it's like an episode will come out, and then a few days later an appendix will come out.
Yeah, exactly. No ads.
No ads, ad-free listening.
Fabulous.
That's right. You get 20% off the merch store at all times, forever, as long as you're a member. You also, if you become a part of the Cone Club,
Yeah, that's the thing.
you get monthly cone stickers illustrated by independent artists sent to your mailbox with a little info card, and you get access to the entire back catalog
All of our old cones.
of like 45 cone stickers.
47.
And there are so many to choose from.
Yeah, and they're all beautiful.
They're all beautiful. They're all special in their own way. We have some repeat artists who we really love.
Yeah.
And so that becomes available to you instantly if you join the Completely Arbitrary Premium.
So do it.
So do it already.
We'd love to have you.
Casey Clapp.
Alex Crowson, we did it again.
We did it again. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
When we at the beginning of the episode, when we said I've got a lot done today, it was 11 a.m. when we started recording.
Yeah.
So we've been working for a bit.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Casey.
Or to those of you listening, Thursday.
Or Saturday.
Or honestly, any day that ends with a Y.
Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Completely Arbitrary. We will see you next time. Aloha.
ʻŌhiʻa Lehua.
Completely Arbitrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp. Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals. If you want to support this podcast and become a Treemium member, head over to arbitrarypod.supercast.com. Thanks for listening.